This week on The Huddle, UCO and Edmond North are on the road. And Memorial and Santa Fe look to defend Watland Stadium. Get out of the way, because here comes The Huddle. Welcome to The Huddle. I am Demetrius Wright, and I'm your host. Along with me, we have my friends and partners in crime. Right over here, the sports editor of the Vista. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, D?
I am doing wonderful. This is good. This is a good day. And then also I brought along with me my other co-host, the former collegiate quarterback of the century, Mr. Dylan Schwartz. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing great, D. How are you about yourself?
I'm good. I'm wonderful. My head is shining, and this is going to be a good day. All right, let's get into some football. Let's talk about some football action. All right, there was many games this weekend. Many games. And since we had UCO, they went to Kansas. We had Stillwater taking on Edmond North, and we had Memorial taking on Mustang. We had also
Santa Fe and Sophomore as well.
Santa Fe and Sophomore.
Can't leave them out.
Santa Fe, you can't leave them out.
Four-game slate to this
Full
week.
four-game slate. Now that's a lot of games going on, and with that, I was a little shocked at all of them.
We definitely had some great games over the weekend. A lot of those were lopsided wins, with some of our Edmond schools being on the losing end of those lopsided wins. But overall, I mean, this is when the time of the year when things really start to heat up.
Yeah.
So
throughout the first couple weeks of the season, we've had some great performances, especially by some defenses. And I think this week was really a week that I wanted to see some consistency out of teams. We got some from some, we didn't get from others. But overall, it was an exciting week of football, and I was happy for it.
Okay, you know what? First off, let's roll the UCO package, and let's see what let's get into the UCO game. But before I show the video, let's talk a little bit about how the game itself went. Because for me, I was a little shocked about I had picked them to win. But I thought it would be a shootout. I thought it would be a scoring, back-and-forth offensive game. But it turned out to be a defensive game.
Emporia State came in the game ranked in the top 25 in the nation again. Second week in a row, UCO had to play a top 25 team. But they were looking to remain undefeated, so I knew they were going up there with a different mentality. Program really going in a different direction this season, and it was great to see them go up there.
And you talk about how, you were expecting a shootout, but honestly, that's how this entire season has been. Like last week, they came down, and last year they put up 63 points on us.
Yeah.
This year they only put up, 18?
Yes.
And so I think this has been a consistency thing, and I was excited to see the defense come through again and show their depth and show that they have what it takes to keep up with some of the more higher power offenses of the MIAA.
All right, let's see the highlights from that game.
UCO looks to stay undefeated as they went up to Emporia State. Early action, handoff given to Jake Gander, who bursts up the middle and runs up the right side to get UCO off to an early 7-0 lead. Defense would play a huge role in this game, first here by the forced fumble in the middle of the field, and then here by the interception by the MIAA Player of the Week, Cody Jones, recording his third interception in just 2 games, off to an unbelievable start to his year. And the Broncos were not done yet, forcing a fumble on the goal line, which is picked up and ran up the sideline by Levante Douglas, who would return this 99 yards for a UCO school record. What an unbelievable game-changing play for the Broncos. Emporia State was not done there. They would answer back with a touchdown of their own late in the third quarter to get them back into this game. But the young fighting UCO Broncos were not done yet. They were shaken but not stirred as Chaz Stoller gets a little pressure in his face, rolling out, dumps it off over the middle to Josh Crockett, who sheds a couple tacklers and will scamper all the way to the end zone. That score was enough to increase UCO's lead and give them the win for their third consecutive win in a row, 3-0 on the season.
All right, that was another great win for the Broncos. Now, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, any big win, any win is a big win. But when you start beating teams like Missouri Western, Emporia State, you start beating some of these top-tier teams in the MIAA, that's when the program really starts to make a change and make steps in the right direction.
And we keep on talking about the defense, but we should say that the offense is clicking along at a great pace, too. It says right here that they're averaging almost 25 points a game versus only a little bit less than 13 for their opponents.
You bring up a good point about the offense there, Rick, but big captain and all that has been Chad Stollard and really Jake Gander with their running attack. I heard that Stollard got a little banged up in last week's game, so we'll have to wait and see if he's healthy enough to go against Saturday against Northwest.
All right. Coming up, we will, after the break, we'll talk more football.
Coming up, we are running, spinning, jumping, all to get a glimpse of Mustang versus Memorial. The battle becomes a shootout.
Kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Acceptable? Yes, now there are more items you can place in your Edmond recycling bin, like newspapers, magazines, phone books, and junk mail. Edmond Recycles. It's what we do. Changing your view is what we want to do.
All right, welcome back to the Huddle. Let's talk about the Memorial game. They took on Mustang. And now for this game, this was really a shocker for myself because I thought Memorial's defense was a lot stronger than what they showed in that game.
You said it, D. This game was very shocking to me as well. Memorial's defense looked lights out in weeks 1 and 2. They didn't allow a single point. And then you come into week 3 expecting at least somewhere around the same ballpark, and they allow 700 yards of offense.
Especially when this was the same Mustang team that the week before got beat by Stillwater, which we watched this past weekend. It was really surprising how they came in and really seemed to use their running game to just open up the offense.
All right, let's take a look at the game and see what's going on with the Memorial Bulldogs.
The Bulldog fans came out ready to pounce on the Broncos. Mick Mayersky throws 45 yards to Jordan Reed, who takes it in the rest of the way to score. Mustang quarterback Chandler Garrett throws 40 yards to Bobby Brown, who says it's my prerogative to score. Backup quarterback Grant Decker for Edmond throws to little Mayersky. Runs down the sideline for an easy score. In the second quarter, Magic Mick Mayersky finds Jordan Reed once again to score. Not to be outdone, Chandler Garrett calls his own number for the 1-yard TD. 1 point difference at halftime. After halftime, Mustang ran the same play 4 times with the same results, which was a big touchdown run for Chase Brown. With the Bulldogs down, assistant coach Luke Orvis tried to coach him up. It helped some, but Mayorski was still confused. Bulldogs scored one last time, but it was too little, too late. Bulldogs lose 37-57.
All right, not the best way for the Bulldogs to start. That was their first home opener, so that was not the best way to start your home opener. And to lose by 20 points, that was just terrible.
Well, like I said, going into the highlights, 700 yards of offense, 500 of that was rushing yards. I mean, you're not going to beat very many teams allowing that much on the ground, but I think the Bulldogs are going to bounce back this coming up week.
I'll just put it this way. The Bulldog defense all season hadn't even given up a 50-yard rusher the entire game. This game, they gave up two, not only 50 yards, but almost 150-yard rushers, including one, Chase Brown, who in 18 rushes went for 250 yards.
Yeah, that third quarter, it was just horrible because it was run, touchdown, run, touchdown, long run, touchdown, even longer run, touchdown.
That just makes you wonder if it was more of Mustang's game planning against that defense or if that was just the young Bulldogs not showing up.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm sure they'll bounce back.
Maybe they read too many press clippings. All right, coming up after the break, we're going to talk Santa Fe sophomore.
Coming up next on the Huddle, North Huskies travel up to Stillwater to face the Stillwater Pioneers.
Plenty of room to swing a rope, plenty of heart and plenty of hope. Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat
can sure smell sweet
when the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma, every night, my honey lemon eye, sit alone and talk and watch ya hop. Crazy circles in the sky. We know we belong to the land, and the land we belong to is red. And we say, we're only saying, don't do it, fight Oklahoma, Oklahoma. O-K-L-A-H-O-M-A, Oklahoma. Okay.
Oklahoma, come see for yourself.
Okay, the next big game, that is North versus Stillwater. Now, for me, I thought this game was going to be really close, and I was wrong because it was not very close, and this was not a very good game. I thought this would be the game of the week.
Edmond North has struggled significantly since week one. Their big upset over Santa Fe. But, I mean, they really need to come into this game Friday night to really get back going on track and perform well. And
You know, you're right, Dylan. The Huskies just haven't been able to really show the consistency that it takes to play at a high level. Every single game we seem to get one or two possessions where they seem to really just hammer it in and go for everything that they have. But they just haven't been able to put that together. But let's see if they can do it against Stillwater in these highlights.
Let's go to those highlights and look.
North Huskies on the road to face out-of-conference opponent Stillwater. North's offense wants to get back on the ball after last week getting shut out by Memorial 35-0. Here on an early action, we have running back taking it up the field and making it into the end zone, making the score 7-7. Later on, the pass game decided to get involved with this big bomb from Noah Toes going over across the broken coverage and running it in for the touchdown. Only problem with that is Stillwater was running the ball up and down the field all day against them. There's this sweep to the left right here, in for the touchdown early in the game. And then going the other way in the next quarter, Stillwater runs it again. And again. And again. Stillwater ends up running it 65 times with only 6 pass attempts the entire game. And as you can see, they kind of just wore out the defense until they finally pound the ball in right there. And oh wait, looks like they're going to do it again. Then just to rub a little bit of salt in the wound, Stillwater decided to use the pass game a little bit, and guess what? Another touchdown. Pioneers end up winning this one 38-14.
All right, coming back from that one, Edmond North, they didn't show up. They still in the locker room. I don't think they ever going to show up if they keep playing like that, because that was terrible. What do you got, Rick?
I mean, if you couldn't tell from the highlights, Stillwater's really taken to its run game. I mean, they ran for over 434 yards during this game. And ever since Braxton Noble went down again, their starting quarterback, this is their third season in a row that their starting quarterback has gone down with a season-ending injury. So I just don't think that North came with the correct game plan. They weren't expecting this kind of barrage.
Well, like you said, Rick, that running game is unlike anything we've seen so far this year. They had almost 4 different people play quarterback, taking snaps and running effective running plays out of the Wildcat, I guess you could say. North really couldn't get anything going on offense either. I think the biggest thing for them is their starting quarterback being out too, Stephen McLaren. But since week 1, they got that win over Santa Fe, but ever since then, they haven't been able to do anything on offense. So that might be what's contributing to that.
All right, the next game coming up is Edmond Santa Fe, and they took on, well, I'll let you know. Coming up.
Friday night, we had the Sophomore Sabercats come into Wantley Stadium and take on the Wolves of Santa Fe. Early action, the give is to running back Darren Moss. Goes to the left, cutting it back up the middle, and gashes, looking like he's going to outrun all the defenders into the end zone until running out of gas, just down inside the 10-yard line. That run by Moss would set up a field goal to put the Sabercats up 6-3 early on in this ballgame. Santa Fe would answer back of their own. Quarterback Keaton Torrey dropping back, looking for defender. Not liking what he sees, decides to call on himself, tucking it to the left side, juking him in, get the first down inside the 15-yard line. That run by Torrey would set up a Darren Williams 13-yard score, make the score 20-17, Sabercats going into the half. Second half action, quarterback Casey Thompson sending his running back in motion to give it on the zone read, keeping it himself for another sophomore touchdown, increasing their lead. Didn't take long for the Wolves to respond back. Keaton Torrey rolling out, throwing a ball to the right sideline. The ball would be caught and down at the 1-yard line. The Wolves are in business now. Fans are hoping that they can punch it in. And the following play, Keaton Torrey calls on himself, faking the option pitch and punches it in to get the Wolves back into this ball game. Keaton Torrey's second score of the game, putting Santa Fe up 31-20. Sabercats would not take very long to answer back on the zone read by Casey Thompson, little brother of Kendall Thompson, quarterback of Utah. And he runs it into the end zone to make the game 31-28. But that wouldn't be enough as the Wolves would go on and take this game 34-28, giving them their second win in a row.
All right. The game itself was a little strange for me because over the year, both teams have showed up and they've played good games. And now at other times, they didn't show up and they played terrible. So that's why I thought this was going to be a more interesting game. But it turned out it wasn't very interesting.
If there's one thing that both teams definitely did bring a lot of was athletes. There was a lot of athletic kids in this game. Definitely a huge win for Santa Fe, no doubt about it. Their second win in a row. Those close wins are definitely harder to get, but they managed to pull it out, so it's good to see.
Was it really that close of a win, though? If you look at it, Southmore had 8 first downs the entire game. Santa Fe, 29. That tells me that Santa Fe's defense wasn't keeping it locked in and just gave up big plays.
Because for me, it felt like a blowout. As I was watching the game, it felt like a blowout, but both teams kept scoring. So I'm like, how is this possible? The scoreboard said it was a close game, but it really wasn't a close game.
Scoreboard always doesn't dictate a game. That's
true.
That's why you play the game.
That's why they play the game. That's why they play the game. All right, the game's coming up next week. Let's get to them. Later on, we're going to do our predictions, but later on, our game's coming up next week. We have UCO taking on the #1 team in MIAA.
Nation.
In the nation.
In the nation. Northwest Missouri. And then also we got Edmond North versus Mustang, which We showed them, and that's Mustang is a good team. Then you have the other version of Edlam with Memorial taking on North.
Memorial taking on Santa Fe. It's the
Santa Fe.
final installment of Edlam.
It's final installment in Santa Fe. Well, we'll get to that more in just a minute. Coming up, stay with us. You're watching The Huddle.
Coming up after the break, we have Austin Littrell with Literally Speaking.
So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Welcome to this week's edition of Literally Speaking, where I pick out the best performances from the past week of football. And we had two great performances this week, one which even broke a record. The Defensive Player of the Week goes to UCO cornerback Levante Douglas. As you can see here, Emporia State's about to score at the 1-yard line, but Douglas recovers the fumble in the end zone and takes it 100 yards for the touchdown and the 14-point swing. Not only was it a big change in momentum, but his return is now the longest return in UCO football history. That is a big-time performance right there. Congratulations. There's no question who the alpha male was on Friday night. For the Edmond Santa Fe Wolves, it was running back Darren Williams. Williams helped lead the pack to victory over Southmore and earned himself my Offensive Player of the Week. Williams finished with 40 carries on the game, 256 yards and 2 touchdowns. What a performance, and he carried the workload for the Wolves Friday night. Both of these players were excellent this past week and deserve a shout out for their performances. That is this week's edition of Literally Speaking. Back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Austin. Now, for me, when you look at those numbers again and you see 256 yards rushing, that is a lot of yards.
That kid, I'll tell you one thing, that kid's off to an unbelievable start of the year. He's been running the ball great.
I tell you what, that helps out making me feel a little bit better because I tried looking at the stats and I kept on saying Santa Fe had 72 rush attempts. I thought, no way they had that
Just
many.
72.
But if he had 40, it makes a lot more sense to me now.
Yeah, that makes a whole bunch more sense. All right, now we're going to go into another portion of the show. Rick, we're going to go into your hit sticks.
That's right. We poured through hours of game footage to bring you all the best hits that we could, and I read somewhere on the internet that everybody likes countdowns. So we made a nice top 5 compilation, and we have them coming up right here.
Number 5 on hit sticks coming up right here from Memorial and Santa Fe. We're going to show you the full play so you think it's going to be a sack, but Memorial's defense doesn't get to him. After running around a little bit, we're looking for number 1 out of Mustang, Bobby Brown, who's coming across the field and finally just gets absolutely squished by Memorial defenders. Number 4, we're looking for Darren Wan coming out of the backfield. Memorial's running back who gets just creamed right there by Mustang defenders. Number 3, you get Santa Fe running back Darren Williams right here. Quarterback tries to give him the ball, but pulls it out on an option, and he just gets absolutely squished. For number 2, we go back to the big game over the weekend with UCO and Emporia State, and a big fumble right there by Emporia, picked it up by number 41, Ashton Dandy. And then number 1, play of the week, Antonio Cole just gets creamed right there by a Stillwater defender on the kickoff return.
Okay, so what was your favorite hit of the game? Was it number 1?
Honestly, for me, yeah, it was number 1, just because he was trying to do the kickoff, and you could tell that he wasn't really looking. He thought he had a lane, and then all of a sudden just right it from the side.
What about you?
My favorite one is definitely that last one because, I mean, I happened to be right there on the sideline when the hit happened. I mean, you could hear it clear as day happening, so that was definitely my favorite.
I kind of like the fumble recovery. But that's just me. I'm all something for defensive linemen. Okay, let's go into your package of about how you pick some quarterbacks or something to do some. Tell me about it.
We had some good ones this week. We had Dylan's Dimes of the Week, and that's all the best quarterback throws in the area of all the games that we watch, and we have some good ones, so let's get to it.
First up on Dylan's Dimes, you have Santa Fe quarterback Keaton Torrey dropping back, throwing a missile to the left side. Throw is on time, very accurate. Torrey wasn't done there on the rollout, hitting his receiver in stride on the 1 yard line, perfectly thrown ball. Set up the go-ahead score in the game for Edmond Santa Fe. Stillwater and Edmond North, wildcat formation thrown deep down the field. That was more on the catch than it was about the dime, with a fantastic catch. And that one set up this ensuing play, throwing a fade up to their big receiver, and he comes down with a perfect catch, perfect timing. And that leads us into your number one Dylan Dime of the week, Edmond Memorial quarterback Nick Morarsky off the play action. Here it is, a different angle at it. Airing it out deep down the field, dropping it into the bucket to his receiver. That is your Dylan Dime of the week. Another great pass by Nick Morarsky, who continues his great season thus far.
And there was your Dylan Dimes of the week.
Now, I like that. I do like those. And I have to say that my favorite was the Nick Morarsky over the top, Jared Reed right down the middle. Boom. What about you?
I like that play too, and honestly, it just surprised me considering the first couple of weeks of the season, we didn't even know that Mayersky even had any arms. We thought he just, handed off the ball over and over again. But the fact that he seems to be really getting comfortable in his passing game is exciting for Memorial's offense.
Now, if he can put a little comeback in his victories, they might start calling him the Magic Mick. Magic Mick.
One thing I've noticed is a lot more big passing plays down the field, which only tells me that the coaches are starting to gain more confidence in their passing game as the season progresses through.
All right, we're moving on to top plays. Here come the plays, all the best plays. We incorporated the hits, we incorporated the passes, the runs. These are the best plays from this last week.
Mick Mayersky throws 45 yards to Jordan Reed, who takes it in the rest of the way to score. Backup quarterback Grant Decker for Edmond throws to little Mac Mayersky. Runs down the sideline for an easy score.
Now, right here on this play, the quarterback hands it off, and the Mustang running back goes up the middle like a fast car, and he takes it all the way. You know what, son? Sit down. You look tired. Now, on this one, the quarterback's confused. He hands it to the running back. The running back takes it to the tailback. He throws it to the receiver. Somehow they score. Now for this one, we have the quarterback dropping back. He throws it right over the middle. Did I mention fast cars? Because here comes another one. This guy turns on the jets. He could go all the way diving into the end zone. It was amazing. Now for this one, Northwestern tried to get over the top, but no. LaVon Bell picks it up. He's going. He's running down the sidelines. Is this possible? It could be. He could go all the way. Boom. The crowd is going wild. We have excitement because those were your top plays. All right. Top plays. Good job on those because I love those top plays. Matter of fact, I'm going to take a little break because they were lots of exciting. So come back with us after I get some water. Come back with us.
Coming up after the break, a preview of this week's upcoming games, plus we make our predictions.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Here's your check.
Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
All right, thanks. We are now, it's time for one of my favorite portions of the show. It's time for predictions. Dylan, why don't you go first?
Well, for this week, I'm going to have UCO upsetting Northwest Missouri. Some may consider it upset, but with two teams of 3-0, that ain't an upset. So we're going UCO Broncos in that one. We're going to go Edmond Memorial over Santa Fe and Edlum, the final game. I think Memorial's going to bounce back and get the win over them. And what I saw out of Mustang last week, I'm taking them to beat Edmond North. They're struggling.
Okay, now, that was some good picks. Now, let's go over to you, Austin. What do you think?
Well, I think UCO has played well. I don't know if they're ready to take down the #1 team in the country, so I got Northwest Missouri over the Broncos. And then I think Memorial bounces back on defense, and I think they take down Santa Fe. And like you said, Mustang is just a really good team, and Edmond North, their starting quarterback, Stephen McClernand's out for the season. Don't know if they can score enough. I got Mustang over the Huskies.
Okay, Rick, sports editor, you do the writing, you do the research, and you always got your pen moving. What do you think?
Well, I agree with Austin about UCO. I think they've made great strides, especially on defense this season, but I think Northwest Missouri's got too much talent coming back, and they're going to win that one. I have Memorial winning over Santa Fe. I think their defense bounces back strong and really gives it to Santa Fe. And then I've got Edmond North. I'm giving them one more chance to get their act together. I think that they can do it if they really, just lock in and just, honestly, it's their defensive line needs to stick with their assignments. But if they do, I think they can pull out a win against Mustang.
Okay, for me, I have UCO over Northwest Missouri. I don't call it an upset. I don't call it a comeback. I'm saying these boys are good. All right, I'm going with my alma mater of Memorial over Santa Fe. Down goes North. Down goes North, but I'll tell you about that later. And then next thing I'm taking is Mustang over Edmond North because Mustang showed me that they can play, and Edmond North told me that they're not really that good. All right, that's about all the time we got for the show. We're going to close it out and say goodbye and say everything. Austin, Dylan, Rick, and myself, we all say thanks for watching. Come back next week for more of the Huddle.